everyone. Welcome to the second episode of Vet Talks, our third season for podcast hosted by the EVBB. I'm Antonio Gennarelli from the EVBB, and this podcast is powered by Fritavet, our operating grant. And today I have the pleasure of welcoming Marco Pardo, who is the Director of ECOLE from Italy, one of our members in the network. So welcome, Marco.
Thank you, Antonio. Thank you for inviting me.
It's a pleasure. So Marco was coming here on a visit to the EVBB, to Brussels, with some of our partners and members of the network. So it's a pleasure for us to have you here with us this afternoon.
It's a pleasure for me too. It's EVBB. It's a very interesting network. So I'm very happy that my organization is part of that network.
Super. Marco, you were recently appointed as Director of ECOLE. So ECOLE is a member of ours since 2023. So it's been some years, but you recently joined as Director.
Yeah, I joined ECOLE in December. And before working for ECOLE, I was the General Manager of a vocational training center based in Brescia, in north of Italy. It's one of the biggest vocational training center in the north of Italy, in Lombardy. And it was a very tough experience. I worked there since 2015, and it was, let's say, mission. We started saying we must transform the organization from a vocational training center to a, let's say, European investment platform. So where training was a pillar, but our main goal was putting the right student in the right company. And so it was a great cultural change, but I think we did a great job. It was tough but very, very nice experience.
Now, after that experience, how does this now come into the experience that you bring to ECOLE, for example?
Okay, ECOLE was very important company in its partnership, so it was a great change because more students and companies. So, but I think that ECOLE should have a new role in the entrepreneurial ecosystem and landscape, because it should play as a point, let's say, a bridge between schools and companies. And so I think that what we've done in Gennarelli will be very useful in developing that kind of vision in ECOLE. ECOLE has a strong position in training for companies, so for employees, and but now a lot of company has a great problem in finding the right skills in young people, so we must try to focus on that problem.
In fact, one of the questions that I had in mind for you is, I think ECOLE works approximately with 8,000 companies in the network, so really plenty of them in the north of Italy, in Lombardy region. What kind of skills you see them as most requested by the companies?
Oh, that's a tough question.
Probably many skills.
Yeah. Of course, I think that there are two great skill gaps that company has, that the company do not find in young people. Technical skills, so I think young people are not trained on new technologies, on things that are changing at very high speed. And so when they arrive in a company, they do not know what is happening in, what kind of machinery they will find. So that's the first problem. And ECOLE could be, let's say, a very important bridge, because if we can try to manage a sort of academy in order to make schools and vocational schools and company talk closer, it will be very useful to companies and to schools. So that's the first skill gap, important skill gap I find. And the second one is about, let's say, soft skills. It's very hard to train people on problem solving, but yeah, but I think that is one of the skills that company most require. So have an open mind, have a problem solving mind is very important for companies. But I understand it's very hard to try to develop that kind of skill with training courses. I mean, but we must find a way. I mean, and probably the best way is to put during the training students in real situation, and because they can develop some experience before they go in a protected landscape and before they go to work in a company, and that could be a way to try to develop that kind of soft skill.
One thing that you mentioned just before was that normally students, young people, when they reach the company level, they go to work, for example, there are machineries or tools that they're not familiar with. So there is this really gap in between the experience that they have at schools or in the vocational schools and the companies itself. Do you think that apprenticeships could play a role in or being strengthened, let's say, to facilitate this transition of students to work?
I think that kind of training could be a great answer to that problem, because school cannot afford investment technology, so they must use the technology that you can find in companies. On the other hand, companies do not have the time to, let's say, enhance a training program for students. So apprenticeship is a kind of solution.
Hybrid.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way for the students to get into the companies and for companies to train their future employee with the partnership of the school. So I think that's very important. And I think also that it's very important for the apprenticeship to make an abroad experience. I think Erasmus for there it's very important, because they can let's say open their mind on different kind of culture, different kind of company organization, and when they come back to their company in their own country, they can bring that experience into the company, and it's a kind of international.
Yes.
So I think that apprenticeship with international experience is a kind of solution to that kind of problem.
The EVBB as an international network, of course, we support both the employability opportunities, which we understand have to be also on the local ground, at the regional level, without having to travel and so on. But for example, recently there were also data released on how mobility of laborers normally is cyclical. So people go abroad to work, then they spend a few years and so on, and then they come back. So, and you think that, for example, given also the experience from before in Gennarelli and so on, dealing a lot with mobilities of students and placement, and there's also a role that neighboring countries can play. So the Western Balkans, I think, and how we can also bring that kind of culture, into our companies.
Yeah, I think so. I was grown up abroad. I lived in Algeria 11 years and 2 years in Congo, and I think that experience changed my life in a very important way, opening my mind. So when we think about training nearby countries in the Mediterranean, for example, in the Balkans, we must first set our mind on culture. Because for people, it's not just a matter of giving them the right technical training, but first is understand their need, let's say, their culture, because otherwise it won't work. So if the mobility program could send students extra Europe countries and bring students from abroad to make an experience in European companies, I think that could be a great experience for Europe and for the world.
It's true. It's true to learn more about our own working culture and also to retain talent, which is one of the challenge and priority at new level.
But we must try to understand the culture and then the need of people. Because, and I think the mobility is a great way to do that, because because exchanges are very important, and to make people connecting on some basis. I think.
Yes, indeed, this is also one of the things that the EVBB does. I mean, creating these kind of international partnerships and so on. But you recently joined, as the director of ECOLE. So, what would you like also, to bring or to see us, for example, work with the companies?
I was very happy in discovering that ECOLE was in such important network. So it was a kind of idea I had when I was in Gennarelli. I built a network with let's say 40 schools in all over Europe and also in Canada. So it was a great surprise to find that ECOLE was already in a great network. And because I believe that the world is complex, we have very complex problems, complex things to solve, and we can do it only in partnership. So, and only talking about problems with different point of view, different cultural background, and I think that in EVBB, I've seen there are a lot of smart people that can give a lot of opinion and talking about problems that could say create a new project to solve them. And I think the role of EVBB is based on that diversity.
True. As we reflect the complexity of the training systems that we work with and that we want also to improve at the end, but by putting them in partnerships in order for them to share knowledge about specific problems that probably someone solved, someone is working for it, and so on.
Yeah,
so
and then different country, different problems, different system. So it's very difficult to find solution that can work in different countries. But this is, I think, a way to push creativity, innovation at a great level. I think that's very interesting for us, and I hope also for all EVBB.
Super. Marco, we are about to close today's podcast and so on, but I want to leave you just with some last words or some message that you would like to launch for us to improve also on training of companies or in general in our work on vocational training.
Well, let's say more partnership, more network, to more innovation, and to shape a better future.
Super. Thank you so much, Marco. Thanks for the time. Thank you so much, and see you soon.